Welcome to Who's Really the Boss podcast. I'm Rachel Dillon, and along with my husband, Marcus Dillon, we share the joys and challenges of leading a $3 million accounting firm together. From team structure to growth strategies, we share our leadership successes and failures so you can avoid the mistakes we have made and grow a valuable accounting firm. Welcome back to another episode of Who's Really the Boss podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
We have a special guest with Marcus and I today. We have Nate Goodman from Goodman CPAs. Welcome, Nate.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so want to definitely invite you to the podcast. We are highlighting another accounting firm this week on the podcast, and excited to hear your story, Nate, and how you have grown your firm and even how it started as really interesting and will be interesting to all of the listeners as well. And so let's start with just getting to know a little about you. So professionally and personally, we like to know it all.
Sure. I am a firm owner of Goodman CPA. I've got 3 boys. They're 5, 4, and 2. So nice and crazy. We live in Black Mountain, North Carolina. So it's near the Asheville, North Carolina area. And we have chickens, which is a lot of fun. We just put 4 chickens in a box because we needed to take them to a friend's house this morning. So that was my morning before I came to the office. And so far, in terms of the firm and professionally, we have started to grow over the past 5 years, and it's been a learning curve, and I have a lot more to learn. I'm still really new at this, and so glad to be working with you guys as well as other people in the community just to keep learning and growing, because I feel like there's always something new I can learn. So,
Well, I heard that you've got your oldest 5 years old, and the firm is also about 5 years old. Is that right?
but yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So he was born in December of 2019.
Okay. And
Yep.
how's that? I guess what was the nerves like to launch the firm? Obviously, have maybe a newborn or a one on the way, and just everything that went along with, and then obviously having a couple kids on the other side of starting the firm. Do you just like stress? I think is the first question coming out of the gate, right?
Oh man, my wife and I talk about this. We're also renovating a house right now ourselves.
Nice.
I said, you know what you should do when you first have kids is you should start a business, you should buy a house, and you should have kids all at the same time, because it's not one of those things is stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't start the firm originally as a CPA firm, so I didn't have my CPA license in 2019. My goal was to do bookkeeping for churches. And so I got my first bookkeeping client in October of 2019. And I feel tremendously blessed by the mentor that I had, who was a CPA firm owner. And a few months before that, I had introduced myself in August, and he said, I basically explained, I want to work with churches. I want to help them with financials. I want to be able to, have good work-life balance. And I have some mentors that are doing this and only working, 20 or 30 hours a week. And he looked at me and said, well, what are your credentials like? Do you have any experience? Do you have any education? And I was like, I have an MBA, but not very much accounting. He says, well, no one's going to trust you if you don't either have education or experience. And so a week later, I re-enrolled after finishing my master's and got my certificate in accounting, so I could sit for the CPA license in 2020.
Okay.
And he said, if you'll do a tax course, I'll bring you on as an intern in tax season of 2020. So he hired me December 2019. So my consulting business or bookkeeping practice was getting started at the same time he then employed me to also be in tax with him. So I don't know if it would be, I don't think back on it as a nerve-wracking time. We definitely didn't know what was going to happen or how we were going to pay for like a baby. But I just remember looking at my wife, and the big thing we kept telling each other was, hey, we obviously got pregnant for a reason. God will open the doors and take care of us. So let's just take one step at a time, and he'll provide. I don't know if my heart and my emotions and mind always aligned with that, but
yeah,
it was a lot.
Well, there's 2 other things that I heard in there, given the timeline. So you also had to study and sit for the CPA exam, it sounds like, in the midst of all that. And there was this thing called COVID right around March of 2020 during all of that. So it's like you went beyond the hat trick of stressful situations. And kudos to your wife, kudos, to that, because that's I think every one of those is considered one of the most stressful pieces to go throughout a marriage.
Yeah, my wife has been just an incredible key player in all of this and an
Yeah,
encourager, and she's heard way too many of my late night rants of, "Well, what are we gonna do about this?" or "How are we gonna hire that person?" or "How are we gonna pay for this?" And, she was always the calm in the midst of what felt like a storm, so
it's
shout
good.
out to her.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome.
Okay, well, your advice, I feel like you've already shared some advice. Just go ahead and do all the hard things at the same time and get them out of the way. But we always ask every guest to share the best piece of advice they've ever received. So, in addition to that one, what else do you have as far as a piece of advice that you've received and has really helped you throughout your life and potentially your career as well?
Yeah, I'll share to one personal, one professional. Personally, my dad has been a big role model. He was a pastor and has been a pastor his whole life. And his key verse was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which was to trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and he'll direct your paths. And so we've felt that of let's just trust that God's in control and he'll direct us. On the professional front, one of the mentors here at the firm, he was Spencer. He's a little bit older. He's retired now. He just told me from a client perspective, he said, learn to work with clients that appreciate what you do and understand a little bit of what you do. And I think you guys have probably experienced those clients that they're like, this is simple. Like it shouldn't be that difficult. And that's been good advice to hold with me as I've worked with some clients, good and bad, and had to have some leave the firm to know, hey, they also didn't realize exactly what we were doing, and so it's been very helpful advice to guide.
Yeah, for sure. And that helps. The earlier you learn probably both that personal and the professional advice, the better you're going to be.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
It's good stuff.
Absolutely. So, Nate, we came to know you really through Collective by DBA. So, I'm not sure if we were spamming your inbox or just your LinkedIn feed, or I don't remind me exactly of how we connected. But I'll tell you from my perspective, once we connected and I could see a little bit of your presence and just see a little bit about who you were from your website, just really from your digital and online presence, I knew that we wanted you close by. I knew that we could learn from you and also share what we've learned with you. And so definitely latched on to all of that to kind of get to know you a little bit better. But do you remember exactly where you came upon probably Marcus somewhere in the digital space?
Yeah, I have very clear memories of it because y'all's podcast has totally blown up our firm in terms of the structure that we had. Summer, I guess it was summer of 24. Every summer, whenever the summer comes around, I have to mow the lawn. I always try to listen to my CPE. And so a friend of mine told me about Earmark to be able to actually do the like CPE with podcasts. I was like, this is great. Now I don't have to sit down for like a webinar or something and click through all the buttons. But you guys popped up on the feed and I was specifically looking at CFO, like fractional CFO, learning what other firms were doing because I felt like our clients weren't getting the experience that I thought they should. And so you guys had a podcast on what you did for fractional CFO services. And then I was like, oh, I really like what they're talking about. So I just started listening to more of your podcasts. And that's when you guys talked about the team of three structure. And we were having a very issue with silos between our tax and accounting department. And as you kind of laid out the plan, I was like, oh, this is the structure that we need to go towards. And we had just overhauled our structure like 2 months before this. And so I brought that back to our leadership team. I said, hey, I know we just changed everything, but I think we did it wrong. So that's how we got plugged in, was through the podcast. Long
Yeah.
answer to a short question.
No, that's great. I love that the first introduction of your leadership team to us is, hey, we did it all wrong and we should really follow this. Like that usually doesn't have a ton of buy-in typically to start off a relationship. But so thankful for you, thankful for your leadership team. I would also kind of back up. Tell us more about the firm, like size wise, just to kind of give a little bit of context where you're at today. We heard some of the beginnings, which were awesome, but leadership team, would love to hear more about that and just the team as a whole.
Yeah, I'll give you just like a uh, what's chronological order of events. So
Yeah.
2019, I started with Jim. He was 85 when I started working with him, running
Okay.
a 1040 tax practice. Basically, he had a few 1120s, and he had not a partner. They had separate businesses, but they shared clients back and forth. And that was Spencer. And Spencer was in his mid 70s when I started working with them. That was tax season of 2019, so 2020,
Yeah.
and that was all COVID. We had our newborn, and I was doing the CPA exam through 2020 with the newborn, first tax season. And so working with Jim's heart is just incredible. He loves to care for people and does lots of pro bono work and that type of thing. And he looked at me after I finished the CPA exam and said, "Hey, Nate, I've obviously don't want to be doing this forever. I've already done it for a long time. So if you're interested, we'd be open to selling you the practice." And that was at the end of 2020. So we started those conversations in 2021. I did a whole nother tax season with him. And by September of 2021, we had purchased his practice, which included him and Spencer.
Yeah.
And so then from there, I was still building my bookkeeping business and trying to get some more clients there. And that led into 2022, where I had built more CFO clients. I was trying to figure out my own pricing. I did not even know that CPA communities existed, that there were other CPA owners out there that would share common knowledge. And so I was just going blind through 2022. And that was a very dark year for the business. I hired a person. I had a budget I had built in Excel. I got the calculation wrong. My shareholders' distributions were being added back to the cash. And whenever I figured it out, I was like, oh, we only have like 3 months left and we're not going to make it to next tax season. So I looked at my wife. I was like, we tried it. I failed. We're going to have to eat rice and beans. Um, and then at the same time, the CPA I had hired in 2022 was like, yeah, I need to get paid more. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. And which led to, hard feelings and emotions and things that were said that shouldn't have been. And so then we had to terminate. And that was my first time terminating somebody. And that went very poorly. Um, and then we met a coaching group. And I realized that there was more folks out there that could help me understand how to do pricing. And because the background I was with was just tax prep only. So I could price a 1040, right? But to price a CFO engagement or a bookkeeping engagement, I was just shooting from the hip and hoping for the best. And it obviously didn't work. So in August of 2022, everything started to turn around. And that's when we ate rice and beans for a while. We bought like the big bulk bag of rice and did that whole thing to make it work. And we then through the end of 2022, we started to reprice things, fix our structure of how we give services. And we finished the year at like maybe 200,000 in revenue. And then we bought the third partner who was in our building at the beginning of 2023. So we could also try to buy the real estate that was here. And from then 2023, we continued to implement the new model that we had just learned. And so we grew from, it was like 200 or 300,000, and we finished 2023 at 1.2 million. So we kind of blew it out of the water with the new model, but also that quick of growth, a lot of pain points, trying to hire people, hiring the wrong people, figuring out how to do the work, who does the work, who's responsible. We have no employee handbook, all of that stuff. Um, and then in 2024, that was kind of this last year was a big hiring year for us. Now we're a team of 12. We've started to refine more of our processes. We've gone through the team of 3 transition. and we finished 24 at 1.7 million in revenue, and then I think we'll be close to 2 million. Our goal was 2.5 this year, but I think we'll be closer to 2 if we're being conservative. And we've like we put a salesperson in place. We've been working on doing that now, marketing and those types of things that we're trying to work on the business
Yeah,
instead of the business every day. But that's a little idea of where we've come from in our team size.
that's great.
Before Marcus goes, I just want to note, I believe the average age of your team now versus your team back in 2020, 2021 is significantly different than
Yes.
what it was
Yes.
by 50 probably years or more.
Yeah, I was what's 2021, 4 years ago. I was 25, I think, when we bought the firm. I'm 29 now, I turned 30 soon. So, I just have so much to learn. I'm so new at this. I feel like that's the I love to learn from people who have been here and done that. So,
Yeah. Well, no, and then to Rachel's point, yeah, the Jim and Spencer, if you took like an employee census, right, your healthcare and your life insurance costs would have been way
yeah,
higher in those beginning years than you are today. So that's fun.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But just thinking that you are going to be a firm owner under 30 coming up on $2 million. So
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible. And if you think about the actual time of when that growth happened, to happen really within maybe a 2.5 year span, thinking about it of how things kind of transpired, that's really, yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think you're doing some things right. Yes, we all have things to learn, no matter what age or how long we've been doing this. But I think you figured a few things out and have done an incredible job so far. So obviously, that's why we're talking today and sharing the
Yeah.
story. And we appreciate too that you are sharing. Like, no, there was hard times. This
Yeah.
this wasn't like the picture of it right now today is not what it looked like in the beginning or even shortly thereafter. There was time and there was work and there was learning involved before this overnight transformation happened.
Yeah, it's fun to look at it on paper. It's different when you feel the growing pains when you're inside of it, but it is
Yeah.
cool. It's cool what's happened.
The scars tell stories though, that you take with you, and so would love to dive in just a little bit because I know I've got questions. I'm sure whoever is listening to this would also have these questions. You grew from 300,000 to 1.3 million in 1 year. Is that correct?
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking back on it, I think it's closer to 400,000 that year, and then it went to 1.3, but yeah.
Okay. I know that that had to be a roller coaster of a year, but what was the mix in that $900,000 plus increase? Was it all that acquisition? Was it organic growth? I mean, what were you doing there to really have that big of an increase in 1 year?
Yeah, so the inorganic growth of the acquisitions, the first so Jim and Spencer was like 150,000 in revenue that we purchased. And then the second acquisition was 275,000
Okay.
in revenue we purchased. So that was of the 1.3, that was the amount that added up to, I don't know, yeah, the three,
Three to
four. I'm
four
not,
hundred.
I'm not trying to do math on this call because then I'm going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
accountants
Yeah.
should be able to do math, right? In
Yeah.
their head. But yeah. So the rest was then made up of growth. And primarily the first year, a lot of it came from referrals. We had a good bookkeeping partner that referred some CFO clients to us. And then how we communicated tax advisory services to clients really helped us lock in that recurring revenue, like the monthly and quarterly recurring revenue that helped really grow that significantly.
Yeah. No, that's great. Of the acquisitions that you did, and knowing we've already kind of talked about, the demographic of Jim and Spencer versus you and your team, and how drastic that really is. Are some of those acquired clients still around, or have you kind of seen filter opt out? Obviously, maybe some of them have passed away. It's just it's one of those questions where as people think about organic versus acquisition, what's going to be left in 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, they did have an older client load, and we have experienced, some of those clients passing away just because we have a retirement home here that's close, and they were also older, so that they related well to that client base. And but most we still have a significant amount that have stayed around. Probably 250 to 300 of those clients are still within the firm. One other helpful part that aided that growth was the acquisition of the third practice. He primarily worked with businesses. And so we were able to then present to them, hey, instead of getting your financials once a year, what if we did your bookkeeping once a month and you could make some more decisions? And what if we could save you $30,000 in taxes next year and it'll cost you, a fraction of that, but it's more than you're paying now. And so we had quite a few people that would sign on to do that. And that was really helpful to have, like, basically paying for leads that already trusted you. And the other kind of key piece when I was thinking about the purchases was we're the only CPA firm in tax practice in Black Mountain. So having that practice in Black Mountain kept us saying, like, well, we're the only people here that can provide this service now. Was a helpful piece when we were choosing to acquire. Was like, well, we don't have the competition we might be considering in like a larger metro of having other CPA firms.
Well, and talking about stories and what you've lived through and what you've shared, I know Rachel has shared this story, and I would love for you to share it about, the storm and the impacts of the storm, and then something about a server, in a car going to another state.
Yeah,
So I think that definitely needs some airtime.
yeah. So Hurricane Helene hit at the end of September last year, and uh, the eye of the storm went through our town. So that Swannanoa and Black Mountain are neighbors, and Swannanoa, a large portion of it was completely underwater. You could see rooftops. A lot of people have probably seen those pictures. The people on rooftops and houses. About a tenth of a mile down from our house, turned into a lake, and we were just like, we are so close to this. And just one, grateful that we were okay, and
Yeah.
grateful to be alive and have each other. We've heard awful stories of people close to us, and also the fact that our building was still standing and our house was still standing. Um, we we would I'd make trips up to Montreat, which is like a little mountain town, and we threw underneath the power lines and stuff, and we would get creek water as high up as we could, and then we'd put it in our camping filter to live off of. And we like to camp out, so we have a camping stove, we have chickens, so we were getting eggs every morning and eating pancakes. I was like, honestly, we could live like this for a while. And we started running low. On fresh water. It was harder to get it. So I was like, oh, we should stop by the office. I don't know what it's going to look like here. We should get everything out of the office. And we got there. I was like, oh, we had like 10 gallons of water for our water cooler. We had bars and nuts and other snacks in the pantry. And I was like, this is great. I didn't even think about ordering all this stuff for here so we can take it home. And then we also have a server in our closet, and we use like Unify systems for our network. And so obviously the infrastructure was destroyed, and they were saying, we don't know when power will be back. Both ways in and out of town were currently closed at the time. And then about a day later, they opened up one route to get out of that, all of Western North Carolina where we were. And so we're like, well, we could take the server, take the networking equipment so people can VPN to the office, and we can set it up at my parents' house in Roanoke, Virginia. And we'll just stay with them because the town was also asking people to leave. They just said, we don't need any more demands on our resources. We had our little kids. They were starting to go stir crazy being at the house every day, as well as there wasn't any cell phone signal or anything because all the towers had been taken out. So we drove to Roanoke, plugged in the server, hooked it up to their internet. I had to make a few calls to get things working properly. And then our team could work from my parents' living room, technically. So,
Amazing.
yeah.
That's great. So your firm is a in-office firm, correct? Do you have employees that are remote, hybrid? What is the setup or makeup of the firm?
All of the above. We have a office location that I come to, and then our other one of our CFOs comes to, and we have an associate and an advisor that come here, and then we have a receptionist or admin that helps, and then the rest of our team is fully remote or hybrid. Sometimes they'll come in once a quarter, maybe, but it's very very minimal. Um, so yeah, but we use the server. I mean, everyone remotely also logs into the server in our office.
Yeah,
So
that's good. I guess on the other side of that experience, have you thought about any, you know, the short list of what do we need to do to be prepared for this next time, I guess?
yeah, I looked at it. It worked fairly smoothly. I just needed a screwdriver to unscrew the server and move it.
Yeah.
And one, it's nice to have the physical server, right? Because you feel like you're in control a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of redundancy to say, well, how long would it take us if this thing crashed to reboot on another server somewhere else? So yeah, I do think we are with this whole year we've been looking at other options for maybe moving to Azure or some other like reseller of Azure that can manage a lot of our stuff a little bit more efficiently than our current setup. But it was nice to be in control of it. It's like if a data center went out somewhere else and we didn't have the redundancy, then I can't drive out there and get into their data center.
No, no. Yeah, hopefully there's a solve for that, whether it's generators or some type of contingency plan for
Yeah,
those data servers for sure.
I do now have a solar powered generator.
Okay.
So I guess that applies to that as well.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. Next time, hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it's one of those you're prepared for it if it does. So
That's right. Yep.
it's good.
Okay, so with that growth, you had the need for quite a few team members to add in. And so you mentioned that some are fully remote. So where have you found like the best luck of finding good talent? Are they local but work remotely, or are you sourcing talent from anywhere that you can find good talent?
Yeah, I was pretty stubborn for a while about hiring fully remote staff, and so we tried the hybrid work and saying like, well, if you live in Greenville or Charlotte or somewhere close to us, then you could come in, once a week or something. And was having a hard time letting go of that, and it was very hard to find or get enough volume, right, of applications of people who are actually even qualified to start an interview. We got a lot of random things that you get on Indeed or LinkedIn or anything. And so once we started doing fully remote offerings, that's when we started getting higher talent applications to be able to then interview. We've also used like a Filipino recruiter and recruited out of the Philippines before, and uh, we've only tried one like direct hire as an accounting position from the Philippines, and we haven't had luck yet with it. But we do have my executive assistants in the Philippines, and she's been fantastic. Um, and then word of mouth, we've done some like, hey, we've had some people connect to our firm and say, hey, they're doing some cool stuff. You should connect. And so it's been a mix. And we also talked to John um, with the Benaya group to start thinking more about, okay, what would it look like to have something a little bit more structured? Because we're kind of at the whims of a referral or a recommendation or hopefully the right application on LinkedIn right now, and it takes a lot of time to sift through the all the applications and everything to find those. But it's been a mix.
Good.
Yeah. And we've had good luck. Our story is similar to yours with offshoring or
Mhm.
outsourcing talent in that we had to do actually 3 experiments before that third one actually stuck and worked. And so definitely explored 2 different. We never went direct hire. We did with U.S. based companies that had teams offshore, but 2 different locations, 2 complete different companies that neither one of them worked out. And they were for different reasons that they didn't quite fit with our team and the services that we needed. But then the third one did. And so that's kind of our thing. I am very much go to, we tried, it didn't work, let's move on, and we're not doing that again. And
Mhm.
thankfully Marcus is like, no, we just need to try again, but a little bit differently. And I think that always that comes from knowing other people, like having that network of peers and knowing other people who have successfully done it,
Mm.
and then being able to talk to them and ask them specific questions. What did you put in your job description? Who did you interview? How did you start the training and the experience? And what were the terms that were set as far as their kind of work conditions and um, responsibilities? And so making sure that those things aligned better to someone who had done it successfully versus kind of trying the exact same thing just with a different company or in a different country. That worked out much better the third time. So I
Mhm.
think we learned and got better, which is probably why that third one. So potentially if we had set things up better from the beginning, like we did for our current, we use TOA, and with two team members in the Philippines. And so perhaps if we had started the way that we started with them, the other two maybe wouldn't have been failures, but very happy with our team members there, and just the quality of people and the quality of work that they are has been a huge asset to our team. So definitely big proponents of sourcing talent from across the world and not limiting ourselves to like our location, our physical location here in Texas.
Yeah, I think that I've told that to our team because I'm similar to you, Marcus. Most of my team's like, "Well, we tried it, it didn't work, so let's just stop." And I was like, "No, there are too many people that are doing this successfully for us to just say it doesn't work."
Yeah, and we love so our relationship with TOA, they provide a service that we're good with, and they provide some structure for our team members that are there. But April and Julie, who are both, we care for them just like any other team member that we have at DVA, and it's really cool to see your impact. Like whenever you think about like how you impact people and their community and things like that extend globally.
Mhm.
And April, our first TOA team member, she's really a success story we could go around and around about. Like just to see her, just like any other team member, but come into her own and like learn new things and step up. So she was just elevated from CSM assistant to a CSM. So she's got full client contact, running payrolls, doing sales tax, doing accounting, and just furthering her career. And then the other thing that just recently happened is she went full remote. So a lot of times they go into an office in one of their core cities
Mhm.
there, but now she's got a little bit more freedom and flexibility to be with family and things like that. So I think it's just cool to see like everything that we're doing here in the States that like we're, touting as like a benefit for our team members. You can also do that worldwide. So it
Mm.
doesn't mean it's an us versus them. It truly is embracing what is possible as far as global talent is concerned.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention that um, we recently found out we do team member spotlights every team meeting every week. And Julie, our other TOA team member, it was her turn to do her spotlight. So it's really like an all about me presentation. They take 5 to 10 minutes to tell all about them, personally, anything that they want to share with the team. Their only requirement is that they have to have a presentation. And she was sharing how April is pretty much mentoring her without being asked to mentor her. So that was something else that was really cool. What April has experienced from team members, she then turned around and started doing for Julie without being assigned, right? It's not a check the box. I met with this person or I checked in with this person. They don't share clients or responsibilities. So for them to have those types of interactions, it was like a deliberate thing that April wanted to do. So I think that was really cool too, just to see it's not about like a butt in a seat and just crank work out. It's really about a value of a life and a relationship that's built and impact that can be made and continue to multiply through others based on what they see within your firm. It doesn't have to be this very cold, transactional type
Yeah.
of a relationship, that it really can be exactly the same as if, they were a state away, a city away, like we do with everyone else who is onshore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure in the very near future, you're going to continue to try new experiments, whether it's that or other things. So excited to learn more about that. Um, I would love to kind of know, as 29-year-old Nate, who's lived through this past 5 years and everything you've accomplished this last 5 years, what would 29-year-old Nate, with all the experience that you've got, go back and tell 24-year-old Nate, prior to kids, prior to hurricanes, prior to firm success and firm transitions? What would be the words of advice you would tell that kid?
First off, either tell him, "Hey, there's some coaching groups out there and communities that will help you uh, in your journey. You don't have to do this alone."
Yeah,
Um, and I don't stress out so much. It just will work out.
that's good.
That's really good. What are you currently focused on? A lot of people are trying to get to, a lot of firms are trying to get to where you already are, right? Like that is their 5-year plan or their goal for the next few years coming up. That is where they're trying to get. So, since you are there, now what are you looking forward to and working on within the firm and with your team?
Yeah, we just launched actually this morning. We had like a half day session with a company that's doing a full process and tech audit with us. And so we're going through our current processes because from my point of view and as I look at the team and the problems that they're facing, our team members feel at capacity pretty regularly and we aren't able to scale and put them in, basically optimize their position to where it should be based on how many clients they should be able to manage or how much revenue they should be able to manage. And so when I see that, I'm thinking, well, there's obviously a process problem here that's holding us back from being able to hit the metric that is standard out there for most accounting firms. And how can we do that while also allowing them to have work life balance? And we want to one of our goals is to have the 36-hour work week, to take half days on Fridays. I heard you guys talking about that. I was like, let's hold that as a goal. That's great. We're not there yet, but how can we get there, and what processes do we need to refine? What technology is holding us back because it's creating confusion? And so my number one focus is there on how can we either revise the current technology that we do have, make sure that we're leveraging AI where it is today, and putting things into place that allows our team to work at their best and highest use. Um, I think that's probably priority number one right now. And then number two, we're still focused on our marketing efforts and helping keep track of our metrics, trying to get a better handle and a more efficient way of looking at our metrics so we can get them more quickly. Because right now it's hard to say, well, how much did we save our clients this last quarter? Where are our clients performing? How are we performing against the benchmark without doing a lot of legwork to get that data? So
You've mentioned benchmark and KPIs. Are there any ones that are, just solid, that you either look at for the firm or for clients, that you always fall back to?
for clients, we'll typically pull out industry benchmarks for like gross profit margin, profit margin. We'll do the same for us in terms of financial KPIs. So are we hitting our profit margins? And then like percentage or common size analysis to say, well, how much money do we spend on marketing versus revenue? Are we in the right percentage there? And then from like a team member size, our goal is to have $250,000 per full-time equivalent
Yeah.
or something like that. And that's a pretty standard benchmark for accounting firms. And then we'll look at like sales related metrics. So close rate, number of appointments, shows, no shows, and then cost per lead or cost per prospect, and which avenues are working more like most efficiently. And then our internal metrics for our team and kind of how they unlock their performance bonus each quarter is they have to meet four metrics. They have to keep their accuracy above 90%, they have to have a client satisfaction score of, I believe it's 90 or above, and then the client retention also at 90 or above, and then efficiency. Our goal is to have all month end closes done by the 15th of the month.
Cool.
And so if they can hit those four, the biggest thing is how long it takes us to actually keep track of those four things so they can know that they're hitting it to get their bonus. But
Yeah. And then is that bonus, how do you calculate that? Or is it a certain amount per each their client load, or how are you calculating that total bonus?
um, some of those I've just pulled out of my hat and said, like,
Yeah.
let's how's this sound for the year? And then we divide it by four.
Okay.
We're trying to get more standard. I think as we're rolling out this year, we'll try to be closer to like 10% of comp. Like you can make an extra 10%, I think is pretty standard.
Yep.
We also do like implementation bonuses. So every client we bring on, if they implement, we just rolled that out. So there's a lot of extra opportunity for the team to increase their pay
Yeah.
outside of just, their base pay. And we did roll out a bonus pool this year. So if we do hit the 2.5 million mark and we have a high NPS score, we're getting tasks done, then it'll unlock a $50,000 bonus pool that will split between the team.
Okay.
Uh,
Awesome.
we actually we have to get to that 2.5 mark. That's like there's like this unlocks it, and then we also have these supplemental metrics that allow you to get 100% of it.
Yeah. Well, and you're one of the fewer firms that I would say, like at our size, that has a salesperson. So if we talk about that role and how you set them up for success, I would assume their comp's a little bit different than
Hmm.
even like a production team member.
Yeah. So their structure, they make $50,000 base, and then they make 8% on what they collect on the call, and then they make 4% on the first year's residuals. So if they pay monthly, they're going to get paid 4% of that every month. If they pay upfront, then they could get a really large commission. Um, or if they pay quarterly, it's all just based on like when that money actually gets collected.
Yeah.
But it boils out to where the cost of the sale is about 10%, um, for the cost of sale.
Yeah. And do they set pricing, or do you have a certain menu of services with pricing that they just put the plan together?
Yeah, so we brought our first salesperson on last summer and worked with them for a long time, and they weren't hitting their metrics, and I think they realized they didn't want to do sales anymore, or would never really wanted to get into it. It was their first sales job. Their second person has done a lot better. They've been in sales for a while. They We have a pricing calculator, and the first thing we always start our salespeople on is tax. So they just sell our tax advisory service before they start to sell any sort of packages like Essentials, which is our annual CFO with monthly accounting, which also includes the tax advisory. So they're still working on just tax advisory, and it's a little bit more straightforward from a pricing standpoint than CFO or monthly accounting.
Yeah. And with that, or you had started this journey wanting to work with churches. Um, what's that client industry makeup look like today? I mean, I assume it's not full of churches.
No, yeah, so when we did purchase the first practice, my wife and I did a lot of praying and said, because my goal was work life balance for myself,
Sure.
and we said if we were to purchase this firm, that can't like there I could not manage the workload for that two partners were doing, experienced partners, and manage my current workload plus what they did and live like a good work life balance and see our kids as we grow up. So we knew if we purchased the practice, I was like, we either build it or we don't buy it. Because if we were to not build or try to grow something, it's really hard to stay stagnant and flatline. Or
Mhm.
that's just not what I'd want to do. But I said if we do grow, then hopefully the impact could grow. We could help provide work life balance to an industry that historically doesn't have good work life balance, at least 6 months out of the year. And so if we can grow it and give that opportunity to more people, then let's do it. And if it's God's will, let's do it. And so he obviously opened the doors. It was very obvious the way that things were laid out. The two partners we purchased, we have a 100% owner financed with them. It's paid out after tax season. So it's like I was able to buy the firm, put nothing down. You
Yeah.
know, those types of opportunities are rare and very obviously a God thing. Um, I don't know if I answered your question in that, but
No, I think you did. Yeah, it's not churches, and I know based on following you and the work that you're doing, you are serving, I guess, practitioners or general family practitioners, doctor-owned
Mhm.
practices.
Yeah, so that's right. To answer your question on churches, so the reason we moved away from doing church accounting was we were trying to blend business accounting and church accounting, and it is two distinct skill sets and things that they would need to do. So we moved away from doing the church accounting, and I actually passed it to my brother-in-law, who handles a lot of that
Yeah.
for those churches because he learned it and does it really well. But for us to try to do both, you would need a unique person to run that to
Yeah.
understand it. And so we just realized we were doing a disservice to them. And so we said, well, now the way that we're looking at like how can we impact the church and God's kingdom of well, what we bring in, let's give away as much as possible. Let's make generosity one of our core values, and we just give away a lot of the proceeds of what we could make doing this business model. Our current client load, like our ideal client, we work specifically with direct primary care. And I don't know if you've read much about that industry that's been forming in the primary care space, but direct primary care or direct care services is like a monthly subscription based model where people are getting a really good experience with their primary care doctors. And the primary care doctors that have got burned out from the traditional system, it's been like a win-win. And we really believe in what they're doing and the model that they're building. So we're trying to be the great back office so they can focus
Yeah.
on patient care, and we can just alleviate all that stress in the back end so they can make the difference in healthcare.
Yeah, I love it. And it's very similar to what our industry goes through. And a lot of the takeaways that we live through, we can share with those type of clients because they're trying to keep lean teams and good work-life balance. And that's a lot of the same things that we want.
Mhm.
Yeah. So as we kind of come to the end of our conversation, which I know we could talk forever, Nate, we didn't really even touch on the fact that the firm you purchased was fully paper, like fully in person, fully paper, to
Oh,
where
yeah.
now you guys have remote workers and all digital processes and automation and AI and all different things working to help clients within the firm and help team members work better. But if you could boil it down to 2 or 3 sentences, what would you say has been the biggest help in building your peer network and building communities around you as a firm owner?
Yeah, it's things like what you guys do with Collective. We were part of another group called Corvi. Those have all been great resources. I say, I think being teachable and being willing to ask questions. I've been surprised at how many people are relatively open with what they're doing and willing and wanting to help you in your development. And so just asking the question, asking for a virtual coffee has been extremely helpful.
Yeah. What I've seen too, and this is watching Marcus, right, as he has grown the firm even before I started with the firm. So I started with DBA like 2 years after he started the firm. But his, I guess, to humble himself and ask the questions and not think they're going to think I'm dumb. I cannot ask that question, or I can't tell someone I don't know how to do this, or this is failing and I don't know why. But just being open and willing to share the places where you're weak with others who either seem to be doing better or for sure are have figured those things out. I think that that's incredible what you can learn and the support you can get. And yes, everybody's willing to share, and no one is telling you, oh, I can't believe you don't know that, and then like closing the door or putting the phone down or saying, not, or ending the email and not responding. Like every single person is like, oh my gosh, I went through that too. And here's how we overcame that. Or we're still struggling with that, 10 years later. So you're not alone, but has been really helpful for our firm as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think you've already mentioned them a few times, and whether it was your dad, Jim, Spencer, it sounds like you've had great mentors along your path, and the one day you hope that you can return that goodness to others that are wanting to seek out very similar guidance or advice to you that you would have. And I think to Rachel's point, like I was always pretty open with, hey, am I doing this right? I'll pay you to review this. Like if that was really a case, I don't think anybody ever took us up on getting paid. The one thing that was really encouraging was knowing that person I asked, who I thought had it all figured out, they didn't have it all figured out either, and that they were learning and experimenting just like I was learning and experimenting, and that pretty quick you could figure out that you could add value to that person by what you're doing. And sometimes it's easier for a new startup firm to try experiments and break stuff and put things on the line versus a 30-person firm, right? There's more mouths to feed. There's a lot more liability in that firm to really try to break stuff at the end of the day. So yeah, I would encourage you, man, just keep asking questions of people that are willing to share and soak it up.
I will. I appreciate you guys. It's been encouraging and a change of pace just hearing y'all's story and what you guys have learned and what you're developing. So I really appreciate your openness and willing to do this too. It's been a game changer for us for sure.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we thank you, Nate, for taking the time and sharing with listeners. We are excited to potentially see you in October for our Gather event. So looking forward to seeing maybe you, Andrew, at that event. And yeah, we just appreciate your time and all that you had to share. And we just pray continued blessings over your firm.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And final thing, Nate, if people want to find you and ask you questions, follow up about why do you really still have a server in the closet? Something like that. Is LinkedIn, what's the best way that people can find you and reach out?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best. If you go to our website and click on my face on our team, it'll pop up my LinkedIn, goodmancpa.llc, not .com. That's probably the best way to get to me through LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn regularly. So
cool. Awesome, man. Well, I'm sure people are going to hear something, latch onto it, and want to get more questions answered for sure.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation and want to learn more, be sure to visit collective.cpa. You can schedule a meeting directly with me, Rachel, by clicking on the Contact Us page. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share so you don't miss any future episodes. We look forward to connecting with you soon.